Hello. Welcome to Top 5. If you haven't yet, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Homeowner fed up with people cutting through yard gets last laugh. Waiting in anticipation. He waited, hunched by the window with his phone in hand, video playing, and an evil grin on his face. He tried to be nice, but nobody wanted to listen to him. He knew he needed to do something drastic. Whoever decided to mow his grass next would be in for a rude awakening. Honeymoon phase. When Thomas Lyons first bought his 3-bedroom corner plot home, he was elated. There was more than enough room for his 2 kids to romp in the backyard and his wife to have a respectable herb garden. But it was the sprawling, emerald green front yard that really caught his attention. The entire real estate package felt too good to be true, and it was. Rude habit. Thomas wasn't sure when exactly it started. Maybe it had been going on even before he had moved in. But people had an annoying habit of cutting across his yard. If it had just been one person, once in a blue moon, that maybe wasn't paying attention, that would have been okay. But that wasn't the case. Not just one. Things were so bad that he ended up having to set up a camera. In one day alone, the grand total was 30 pedestrians, 8 bikes, and 2 strollers. It wasn't like they had no other choice. There was literally a sidewalk around his entire public-facing sides of his land. Unsalvageable corner. And the far corner, where the sidewalks met, was trodden down to packed, bare earth. Thomas wasn't an unreasonable man, so he politely asked people not to use his lawn as a shortcut. Sadly, no one listened, some even ignored his requests right to his face, and plodded along the grass to wherever they were going. No fences. A few neighbors suggested putting up a fence, but between the paperwork, fees, and cost of putting up the divider, it was an expensive solution. Thomas steamed every time someone crossed his lawn. When he was younger, he would have been throttled for trespassing. When the foot traffic showed no signs of leaving, he decided to take matters into his own hands. Cheap solution. Thankfully, his brilliant idea wasn't going to cost him much. He already had most of the equipment, he just needed a sensor, and one other key addition. When things were set up and ready to go, he set up his camera, hit record, and leaned back in his chair with a cup of coffee. This was going to be good. Round 1. It was 7 a.m. when the first trespasser appeared. It was a woman out on a jog. This was an adult, someone who knew exactly what a sidewalk was for. But still, she stomped over the blades to whatever tunes were pounding out of her headphones. Suddenly, Thomas' trap sprung, and the woman shrieked at the top of her lungs. Loud and soaked. The sensor triggered an impressively loud alarm, and then set the sprinkler into motion. Thomas had set it on the strongest, direct stream, so anyone who walked by would get a powerful blast of cold water. Next was a gaggle of middle school girls. They screamed and dashed to the sidewalk. Thomas leaned back in his chair and bellowed with laughter. There was one more thing to do. Sharing the results. He had to share this on social media. So, he spliced a few clips together and loaded them to his TikTok account. The reactions were mixed. And the negative ones had Thomas wanting to reach through the phone and strangle the idiot on the other end. Mixed opinions. Many people praised him for his trap. They were trespassing after all. But the scolding comments left him mind-boggled. "It's just grass," someone said. "It's just water," another shot back. "It's just a couple of people walking. Take a chill pill," another wrote. The next response was clearly someone who had been through a similar situation. "No big deal. It's not one person, it's many, every day, and it costs money to fix a lawn, especially if you live in an area that makes you have a certain look to your yard and home. When someone is racing to the bus, every second counts. My job is more important than your stupid lawn." Thomas turned red in the face, but the netizens came to his defense. "No excuse. Then leave 5 minutes earlier." "There's no excuse. Would you let someone run across your backyard when there is literally a full sidewalk only 5 feet away? No. Stop being such an idiot. Just then, Thomas heard another shriek. This one came from someone on a motorbike. Seriously, a motorbike? Legal implications. There was one comment, however, that seemed to shut up the naysayers. When someone gets hurt on your property, they can sue you. Plain and simple. He has every right to keep people off his land. Thomas had not only come up with the perfect solution, but the clips were getting hundreds of thousands of views. Not stopping. Over the weeks, the traffic slowly dissipated. He put up some stakes with twine to try and make another barrier. But once in a while, some moron would come by and get a cold wake-up call. Thomas would keep filming and uploading these videos. They were just too hilarious to keep to themselves. But Thomas isn't the only person to be inconvenienced by people near his yard. Scott Hunter. He could have just let what had happened to go, but Scott Hunter wasn't that kind of man. In fact, his colleagues at the insurance firm had a nickname for him, the Pitbull. Once Scott got his teeth into something, he'd never let go. So when he saw his 8-year-old princess in tears on her own birthday, he knew he had to do everything in his power to make things right. And God help the people who had crossed him. Birthday celebration. All Scott and his wife had wanted to do was throw their young daughter a small party. When Nina decorated their yard cheerfully with balloons and inflated the bounce house, she never anticipated that there would be a problem. The day in question turned out to be the worst of young Evie's life. Her parents had worked hard to make sure she had a memorable birthday, but Evie would remember it for all the wrong reasons. Nasty neighbors. Scott and Nina had been living in their home in the suburbs for 4 years. Unfortunately, there was nothing they could do about the nasty elderly couple living next door. They had squabbles about the noise their daughter made when she played with friends in the yard, the smoke that wafted over their fence from their barbecue, and any other petty reason the neighbors could find to complain about. For months, Scott and Nina had tried to keep the peace. But the neighbors were about to cross a line. The big day. The day of Evie's 8th birthday started on the right note. The weather was perfect, the little girl was excited about her party, and Scott was in good spirits. He mowed the lawn, inflated the kiddie pool, and set up the bounce house. The kids and their parents began to show up. Scott fired up the barbecue while Nina set out the snacks. Nobody noticed 2 pairs of angry eyes peering over the back fence. Rude interruption. "Hey Scott!" the miserable old man bellowed. "We are trying to enjoy our porch, so tell your sprogs to shut up." "They are children, Bernard. It's a party," Scott said, clenching his jaw and turning around. He continued to work the grill as the children splashed happily in the pool, but he should have known that his rude neighbor wouldn't leave it at that. The best gift. Evie's eyes sparkled when she opened her gifts. For some reason, her favorite present was the large inflatable ball that her grandma had bought her. All the kids clamored to play with it, bouncing it to each other and kicking it against the fence. When someone accidentally kicked it too high and it bounced into the neighbor's yard, nobody could have anticipated what would happen next. Unexpected. Bernard's wife went over and scooped it up. She held the ball in her hands for a few seconds while the kids waited. Everyone expected her to simply toss it back. "Please throw it over," Evie pleaded. Instead, she handed it to her husband. He made sure everyone was looking while he fetched a screwdriver from the garden shed. Unbelievable behavior. Bernard kept unbroken eye contact with Scott. Then, a satisfied expression came over his face as he slowly and deliberately stabbed the ball. Then, the malicious man clumsily squashed it up with his hands and throttled all the air out of it. Scott was incredulous. Evie screeched. The old man seemed to get so much pleasure out of causing the little girl's tears, and he wasn't finished yet. Tears. Evie cried and cried, but eventually, her mom managed to placate her. Nina just wanted the party to continue as if nothing had happened, but Scott was seeing red. As the day drew on, he grew angrier and angrier. If the neighbors enjoyed their porch so much, he'd make sure they never enjoyed it again. A plan. Scott had never been so angry in his life. He wasn't about to just let it go. They had ruined his little girl's birthday, now they would have to live with the consequences. His plan was simple. He could see the neighbor's porch from his yard. Every time the miserable old couple came outside, he was ready. An annoyance. Scott thought carefully about all the ways he could make his insufferable neighbors live a living hell. He thought about everything from poisoning their lawn to other, more harmful measures. But he wasn't a fool. He knew that he couldn't do anything drastic or illegal, so he decided to be an annoyance instead. He'd teach them to make his daughter cry. Payback. Every time Scott saw the neighbors sitting on their porch, he'd go to his garage and gleefully fire up his air compressor. Then, he'd make a racket with his gas leaf blower in the yard. At first, the neighbors would complain, but they couldn't compete with the noise. Every day, Scott would watch the porch and wait for them. It worked every single time. Obsessed. Scott was obsessed with getting payback, but he could bide his time. He'd do it until the couple died or moved out if he had to. He would be a constant reminder of their unacceptable behavior, and he'd never let it go. They soon realized that they had made a huge mistake when they crossed him. Persistence. Scott continued with his noisy regime for years. True to his word, he never let Bernard and his wife enjoy their backyard ever again. He didn't even pretend that he was doing anything other than making as much noise as he could every time they set foot outside. And, every time, he'd drive those miserable neighbors right back inside. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.